Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show on this 20th of March 2022. Good grief, we are rattling through the year at an incredible, somewhat alarming rate. It only seems like a very short time ago that it was Christmas 2021. But here we are. Almost 3 months of the year done. So we've almost finished Q1 of the year, which is, yeah, it's a little bit perturbing to say the least. But anyway, I hope everybody is doing well. I hope everyone has had a good week. Sorry, somewhat distracted. Yeah, I've had a good one here. It's been a busy weekend. Lots going on here in the Lipsham household. My daughter is back to playing football again. So it's been busy for her with training, and because she plays for the local team here, the local girls team, which is great. So she's enjoying that. So we've been doing that pretty much the whole of yesterday, and then today was another busy day here. So yeah, so lots going on this weekend. So I've not really exactly had much of a break, it has to be said. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. We've got quite a small gathering here, which is nice. And I need to see who was first in the door, and it looks like that was Billy, I think. And then Tony Stringer is here as well. Kevin from Kevin's Guitar Stories is here. Ken Moss is here, and my good friend Louis from Alts Media is here, who is my fantastic sponsor of Sunday Night Live, which is very, very cool. Great to have him on board. Ironweed Studios is here. John A.L. Hawk is here, and Dave from Bops New York is here. David Anthony is here as well. Let's see, who else do we have? Harley Bob is here as well. Awesome. John Lake is here, who says, this is hilarious. You're probably wondering why I brought you all here tonight. Mum is the word. That's hilarious. Don Oliver is here as well. Who else do we have? And Mike from Peace Valley Audio is here. He says, editing. So boring. Yeah, editing can be quite tedious. I'll definitely agree with you there. That's definitely just true. Whether you're editing MIDI or whether you're editing audio, it can be laborious, it can be a little tedious, but, you know, you have to think about the end results and, you know, if it's going to be worth it. That's really kind of the value of editing there. You have to see the big picture. Just Bob is here. He says, replacing a knot on my guitar neck whilst waiting. Awesome. Well, we have started now, which is cool, and the chat just jumped dramatically. Ken has a question here, which I will get to in just a second. Sorry, excuse me, wiping my nose. Ironweed says I'm making tea. I made tea just before we started, and I'm about halfway through my cup, so hopefully it's going to last. I'm going to have to make it last through the show. Excuse me. Mike at Peace Valley Audio says, where's the fancy intro music? I like hearing your older tracks. Well, that was one of my older tracks that you heard there. For the intro music. That is a tune called Flip Flops that I wrote way back in my university days for my quintet that I had back then, before I started my big funk band. And we played mostly kind of sort of Charlie Parker, Coltrane, kind of bebop kind of stuff, bit of modal jazz. That's kind of what we did. And that was a tune that I wrote for the band, which was, yeah, pretty cool. It is actually longer than that, but what I did was I edited it. I chopped it up so that I could turn it into an intro for the very first episodes of Songwriting Simplified. For those of you that have been watching that show that I do with Jonny over on the Home Studio Trainer channel, we started that 7 years ago, ridiculously. We started doing Songwriting Simplified 7 years ago, and that was the theme tune that I edited together to fit that show, because I thought, hey, this is pretty cool. And then I introduced another kind of more bluesy orientated one, after I think maybe about a year of using flip-flops, I switched to this bluesy piece. But yeah, flip-flops was the original theme for Songwriting Simplified. But as I say, I wrote that way back in, 1994, 95 for my my quintet back in the day when I was a student. And I had hair and all of that. And I was considerably thinner than I am now. Let's keep going. Lorenz is here as well, which is awesome. Glad he is here. Ronald Figura is here. Dwayne is here. And I think I've reached the bottom of the chat. And we do have a couple of questions, which is good, so I'll get to those. But before we get to those, I've been meaning to show you guys this for a little while. And I think I kind of mentioned it in passing and maybe even done a small little demonstration of the power of the chord track and how you can make an already existing piece of music follow the chord track, and you can make it sound like a kind of completely different song. For those of you that have seen this meme that has been going around on YouTube for a while, it's where a whole bunch of popular songs by people like Rick Astley, Adele, and a few others, people run their songs through software similar to what we have for chord track in Studio One, and they basically make the song follow the chord changes of a completely different song. So this meme that has been going around for a while is where popular songs have been put to the chord changes of John Coltrane's Giant Steps, which is one of the most complicated pieces of jazz music to ever be recorded. It's really, really hard to play. But yeah, so even pieces by Coldplay have been given this treatment. You can find them all on YouTube. So, you know, if you want to see if your favorite band has had this Giant Steps treatment, type the name of your favorite song and then say, "but it's Giant Steps" in the search bar, and you'll see a whole bunch of things come up. And your song might well be among those that has had this meme treatment. So I thought I would actually do that to one of my own songs, just for fun. So I think I did this with the I Got Rhythm changes, which is the chord changes to I Got Rhythm by George and Ira Gershwin, which, you know, kind of showed it in, you know, what you can do. But, you know, I had hoped that I'd be able to get hold of a Midi file that has the Giant Steps chord changes, and now I have. I've managed to get hold of one, which is really cool. So I'm going to show you that, and that'll hopefully give you a little bit of extra time to start getting your questions into the chat. We've already got a couple, and I'm going to get to those in just a minute, and then we will we'll get to your questions. So if you do have questions about Studio One, about recording, mixing, mastering, composing, arranging, songwriting, get those in, and I will get to them tonight. The cool thing is, because it's daylight savings time for you guys over in the United States, here it hasn't yet. So for me, this is still relatively early in the evening, being that it is now 11:15 in the evening. So, you know, I don't mind letting the show run over a little bit to make sure that I get all of your questions. All right, so let's get to this. All right, so here we are in Studio One, and I just realized I don't have my camera on. That's fine. We can, oh, my camera's still not on. Where's my camera not on? There we go. There you go. Now you should see me. There we go. Hello. I don't know why my camera didn't automatically just turn on for this screen, but it didn't. But anyway, all right, so here we are. We've got my song Flying High in here. And then we've got the chord changes in the chord track here for Coltrane's Giant Steps. And I'm going to turn this on in just a minute, but here's what my sound song's like. No, this is how my song sounds like normally.
darkest night to daylight.
Which kind of has strange enough chord changes as it is, because all of those chord changes, when you get into the verse, they all move by an interval of a major third, so which is a little bit unusual to start with. But let's turn on the chord track, and you can hear what it does when we give it the giant steps treatment.
Night to daylight. The rain-soaked street sparkling. Neon lights dance to the burning flight. Those basement joints are bouncing. Trading fours right up till sunrise. Rhythm changes and Cherokee.
I want to see what the chorus sounds like.
Candles flicker in your eyes. This is where I long to be. This is what I dream.
Here we go.
I'm gonna be just on, blowing some saxophone, grooving hard and spinning bar, ain't never thinking of no. Gonna be just on.
Interesting. Yeah, it's it's definitely different. It works really well with some songs and not so great with others. So, for example, the European band Aha from back in the 80s, they had a massive monster hit with a song called Take On Me. And if you do Take On Me, but it's giant steps, you search that in YouTube, you'll hear what that song sounds like as following the chord changes to Take On Me, to giant steps. And it sounds actually really quite good. You can also do Coldplay's Fix You, and just do exactly the same search. Coldplay Fix You, but it's giant steps. And it actually sounds really, really good. That's one of the best ones. Is it supposed to sound like everything is on a synth wheel? No, that's just basically I'm making the chord track do something that it's maybe not necessarily designed to do. But it is manipulating the audio and making audio follow the chord changes to something completely different. Now, there's going to be some pitch shifting that's involved, and the other thing you have to remember is that my chords are not moving at the same time as the chords would be for giant steps, which for the most part is two chord changes per bar. So the audio is being manipulated to follow those when it's not really designed to. So it does, there are some artifacts. And like I said, it's doing this kind of thing, making one song follow the chord changes to another, will work with some songs better than others. But this is just to show you that this is one way in which you can create that effect. So I mean, I could pull in a completely different song, and and we may get better results. But yeah, go try it for yourself. See if you can find a MIDI file of the chord changes of a song that you want to use, and then simply drag that in up here. The cool thing about Studio One 5.5 is now you can just grab that MIDI track, and if it's got chord changes embedded in it, then you can just grab that MIDI track, drag it into the chord track, and all the chords will populate in the chord track here. Then you drag in the audio for your song, make sure that they are tempo matched, And then you just set this guy to follow in universal mode. And this should therefore follow the chords, and it will work. But yeah, like I said, for some songs it works really, really well and it's very entertaining. And for some you get more artifacts than with others. But it's fun. All right, so let's get to questions because I did say that I would do that. And there's a good couple of questions up here that I want to get to straight away. Ken says, I have always thought it is much more difficult to play songs at a slow tempo than it is to play fast. Any thoughts also or suggestions to keep slow songs interesting and engaging? That's a great question. And you may actually be right to some degree. That if something is at a slow tempo, there is a danger that your song can plod a little bit and become a little bit stagnant, and it feels like it's going to take forever to get to the end of the song. You don't want your listener to have that experience. So there are things you can do, and that is you can change the harmonic rhythm at different points in the song. So let's say you're writing, for example, this luscious kind of 50s style blues ballad. So you can change up the harmonic rhythm to kind of keep things a little bit interesting. So I was doing mostly two chords per bar there. So I would be going 1, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4. So I'm doing like 2 chords per bar, which is a reasonable harmonic rhythm for a slow tempo song, because that's about 65 or so-ish beats a minute. Whereas if you're doing 1 chord per bar, yes, it can drag a little bit. That's going to take a while to get through your, maybe your 16 bars of your verse. So if that's what you've got and that's kind of where you started, one of the things you can do if you're already doing like 1 chord per bar and you're going, okay, maybe I should change it up so that there are 2 chords in each bar instead, but I've already written out my chord changes. You can do something called interpolation. So let's say I'm doing that kind of 50s blues ballad, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1 kind of thing, 1 chord per bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And I want to make it a little bit more interesting, so I can interpolate a chord that's going to lead me like a passing chord into C minor, so which would be chord 6. So, and then I can do the same for the F minor, which would come up. So, and that gives me that extra chord. So in this case, it's G7, flat 9, C minor. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this has got to be 1 bar, but I need an extra chord to take me to my F minor. So I would need to do something like, notice I didn't do that on every chord, on every bar, because you can overuse things like interpolation, where you're using a passing chord, maybe a semitone away, or a chord 5, into that chord. So I did a 5-1 in C minor. Chord 5 in C minor to chord 1. And then from there, I did a tritone substitution. So I did a flat 5 substitution. So I did, instead of C, because I'm already on C minor, I could have turned that to C7, but it wouldn't have really sounded that great. So I made it into a G flat 7 instead, which leads nicely into the F minor. And then I could have gone B7 flat 9 into B7, then E7, B flat 7, and then E7. But like I say, you can do this too much, and then it gets a little bit overcomplicated. And it becomes a little bit overcomplicated, and you end up with just like way too many chords. But certainly to do this at different points might help you a little bit. Like maybe when you're coming to the end of an 8-bar phrase. So 2, 3, 4. Maybe right here, I'll do the flat 5. So I'm using E7 into E flat. Background again. And then I could go. And that speeds up the harmonic rhythm when you're coming into the end of a phrase, ready to go into the next one. And so that gives a little bit of extra forward motion, and then you go back and you sit back a little bit, and then a little bit more extra forward motion, and then you sit back. So that kind of contrast between kind of slow and steady, and then a little bit of, it's not really accelerating, you're not changing the tempo, you're not making it go twice as fast. What you're doing is you're just going from 1 chord per bar, so 4 beats on a chord, to 2 beats on each chord. And that just gives you a little bit of extra forward motion. So if your verse has that kind of 4 beats per chord kind of feel to it, and you want to make it nice and expansive, and you want to have room, then your chorus, you could go kind of that double time and have 2 chords per bar instead. And that would kind of give the chorus a sense of forward motion. Then when you get to the verse, you can kind of sit back a little bit and just do occasional little, maybe an ascending bass line, a nice little chromatically ascending or stepwise ascending bass line can really help as well. Give that sense of forward motion. And you're leading towards something, and then you arrive at that something. So I hope that kind of would help you there, Ken. I mean, obviously in a different genre, you're not going to, if you're not playing kind of a 1950 style blues ballad, you're not going to use those kind of luscious chords. But if you're just doing a more contemporary pop song, then certainly you wouldn't necessarily have all the, kind of jazzy embellishments, but certainly you could keep the same kind of concepts, So I'm keeping the harmonic language much simpler for a more kind of pop-orientated thing, but I'm still using the same techniques of passing chords. And then, a little half diminished chord here. And then maybe, B flats, A flat with B flat in the bass. And then make that A flat minor. So you get that nice little flat 9 feel to it. Stepwise motion in the bass. So even with a simpler harmonic language, you can still use the same kind of harmonic devices that would help kind of change your harmonic rhythm a little bit. Alrighty, so that's a good question. Let's see. What else do we have? Okay, Bob's New York says, I have a MIDI generated drum track printed via Superior Drummer. Is it possible to time stretch the audio or just quantize the MIDI instead? Apologies, not tried this first. Yeah, you can certainly do that. If you have a MIDI drum part, and so I'm over in Studio One with a brand new song. So if you have a MIDI drum part which you then render, but then you decide that it's not at the right tempo and you want to time stretch it, you can certainly do that. So let's go and do that now. Let me see. Do I have any MIDI drum loops? I probably don't. Probably don't. Let's see. These are all audio loops. Yeah. Yep, those are all audio loops, so I can't use those. And those are all audio as well. And these are all going to be audio loops as well. Okay, I'm going to have to create something from scratch here, but that's okay. I don't mind doing that. So let's go and grab Impact. What kit should we use? Let's see. I'm going to use the Tom Brecklin drums kit because it's a nice sounding Yamaha Maple custom drum set, I think it is. All right, so let's do something with this. Let's go and get pre-count on. And I'm afraid, folks, I'm going to make this click obnoxiously loud. So it's going to be a little bit annoying for you guys at the moment. Sorry about that. But it is what it is because I have to have my speakers turned really low so that I can do this without headphones. All right, let's see. All right, I think I actually got most of that pretty good in time. Not bad. Let's go back to the beginning. Maybe not quite as good as I thought, but that's okay. Nothing was more than an eighth note, so that's fine. We can just go Control A and Q, and that's everything. But let's say, just for kicks, we'll say that this is the wrong tempo. But what we'll do is we'll render this to audio, transform to audio track, and we'll preserve the instrument track state so we can get back to it if we need to. There we go. For some reason that did not work. Why did that just render just the first one? I don't know why that happened. Just want to audio. Let's go render all channels. There we go. There we go. That seems to be much better to me. There we go. And I'm not worried about those tails, to be honest. All right, so I've got those all kind of rendered out, and let's say we decide, you know what, 100 beats a minute is just not cutting it. We want this to be, 123 or let's say 130. Now you can see that all of these are automatically moving. That's because I have time stretch on by default. So all of those just moved. So now So that moves. That moved automatically. The reason why it did was because I have time stretch on by default, because I'm quite forgetful. I would forget that it's not on, or I'd forget to set it. And the other thing is, because the original audio had a file tempo of 100 beats a minute, time stretching was easily automatically calculated. So it worked pretty well. If you're doing something from Superior Drummer, and let's say you grab in one of the preset drum grooves, whatever it might be, and you just drag that into your song. I don't have Superior Drummer or Easy Drummer or anything like that, because I like to do things by hand. So yeah, if you just drag in one of those loops that are pre-made, but you decide that after you've rendered it to audio, you decide it's maybe not fast enough, it should have the file tempo here already set, because it's Midi, so Midi is easily detectable. So it's this number is just going to be accurate. And then all you need to do is just set this to time stretch and make sure the time stretch type is drums. And then away you go. And then it doesn't matter what tempo I set here, you know. So that works, whatever tempo I set. You know, even if I decide, you know what, I want to go slower than what I originally set before. Or maybe this value should be, I don't know, 160. So that should work for you, hopefully. But that's a good question. I like it. Mike says, is it okay if I post a link for our collaboration tool Ken and I found useful during our last collaboration? Yep, go ahead and do that. Don't have a problem with that. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I missed anything. Yeah, Bops points out some jazz tunes will run 2 chords per bar with a standard rhythm and 1 chord per bar at cut time. Yes, that's definitely true. Just Bob says, can you demo using the Arpeggiator to make individual notes out of piano chords? Yeah, I don't really, it's not something I use very much, but we can certainly try it out for sure. So if I go to instruments and we'll close this guy because I don't want to see all of these. I didn't mean to close all of those. I just meant to close that one. And we'll go and grab a piano. And we'll go and grab Jonny Gibe's personal favorite piano, the ballad piano. Because he likes this one. And I virtually never use it, so. But the Arpeggiator is very, very cool. So I now close this. I can go up to Note Effects. And I can go and grab the Arpeggiator and drop it onto my track. And then there are some different patterns you can use. So let's go swinging chords, for example. And for some reason, it makes this first note really, really loud, which I don't want. So I'm going to reduce that volume. But let's say I don't want swung 16th notes. I want swung 8th notes instead. But let's say you want just like a simple up-down pattern rather than block chords. So let's maybe put this with this drum track that we've got going already. Let's see. Maybe what I should do is just duplicate these a couple of times. There we go. We'll give ourselves a little 12-bar loop kind of thing. There we go. So let's maybe just try and record something. Okay, here we go. There we go. Oh, you guys are not seeing the screen. There we go. All right, let me show you what the Arpeggiator is doing. So the Arpeggiator is using this preset called swinging chords, and I've just got it doing an up-down pattern. I could have it doing a down-up pattern as well. Or play more randomly. Or we could just go up. And we can even change this pattern to something that's a little bit more, maybe let's reduce this swing value a bit. I quite like that. That's pretty cool, actually. So you could create something, you know, really, really interesting just using the Arpeggiator. It's very, 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 very cool, very, very powerful. And, you know, if you wanted to turn this into a different instrument, maybe like a finger-picking muted guitar part, you could do that very, very easily just by simply changing the sound. So if I go up here and we close the piano, we'll find ourselves a guitar. Guitar here, and we could maybe find ourselves, I don't know, a little Stratocaster thing. We could go and do mutes and see how that comes out. That's pretty cool as well. So there's lots of potential there for creating an entirely brand new song with a guitar part that you've just done very, very easily. So I hope that answers that question. But that's a really good one. Okay, Box. Okay, you were asking as I was using E drums based on real playing. Okay, yeah, I don't have electronic drums here, so it's going to be a little bit hard for me to demonstrate. But certainly you could, you could, if it's MIDI input and it's coming in as audio, you can certainly time stretch the audio to fit. But one of the things you're going to find, especially if it's real playing, it depends how tight to the grid you want that real playing to be. If you want that real playing to be very, very mechanical, very, very tight to the grid, because that's the style of music that requires that, then yes, you're going to want to use things like the bend tool to kind of move things and pocket them into place, which you can do fairly easily. But that's kind of maybe a topic for a show. We could certainly do something with bend markers and how to kind of pocket an audio performance so that it's a little bit more on the grid. We can do that as a subject maybe for next Sunday's show, if you're up for that. Because I don't think I've actually done a video on that either. So it might be fun to actually just do that as a show topic. But yeah, we can certainly do that. And yeah, you guys are aware that I couldn't see the screen. Sorry about that. Let's see. Who created the Arpeggiator? That would be the guys over in Persona Software in Hamburg, the developers of Studio One. They will have created the Arpeggiator. It is built into Studio One Professional. If you have the professional version, you will have the Arpeggiator. You will have all of these note effects actually. So you'll have the Arpeggiator, you'll have the quarter, you have the input filter, and you'll have the repeater. And all of those have really, really cool applications, and you can get very, very creative with those, especially things like the repeater and the quarter. Quarter is actually pretty cool. I don't think I've ever demonstrated quarter, but we can certainly do that by maybe bringing in another presence, and we'll do a different sound entirely. Let's go for organ left manual. I have no idea what this is going to sound like. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. Let's give it a little reverb. All right, there we go. And then I could just bring in quarter, drop that onto that one. So quarter is very cool in that, let's turn that down a bit. There we go. If you want to, you know, just use in a more kind of drum and bass EDM kind of style of music, this is really, really cool. It's got lots of really, really practical uses as well. You can, you know, you can, I mean, for example, if you wanted to do like a sort of saxophone solo with the whole saxophone section, you could certainly do that just by changing this sound. Although I quite like that organ sound, I have to admit. So we could go woodwinds, we could go, let's see, let's go tenor sax. We'll have like a chorus of tenor saxes. This could be quite interesting. So yeah, you could have hours and hours and hours and hours of fun with the chorder. I use this quite a bit if I want to, you know, find a way to kind of harmonize just a single line. I could go on forever, but I'm not going to do that because you guys will get bored if I do that. But there we go. That's kind of how the chorder and the arpeggiator work. Maybe I should do some videos on these specifically. If you'd be interested in those, let me know, and I will shoot a little short 2-minute video on each of the note effects. If you're not familiar with them, happy to do that, and I'll stick them up on the channel. If you guys are interested in that, I'd be very happy to do that. All right, we've got about 8 minutes left. Let's see. Just Bob says, this is really cool since I cannot play keyboards very well at all. Yep, yeah. Things like Arpeggiator and chorder are really, really handy if you're not really a keyboard player, but you want to do something that sounds really, really creative. Not boring, that was great, yeah. Oh, I ran out of range. Ah. Lots of fun. I'm going to go back over to the screen. But you can actually customize your own voicings, which is again probably the subject for another video. But you've got different intervals as well, so you could have this set in fourths. You can get some really interesting sounds out of just simple like major chords, just with fourths overlaid. All I'm doing there is just playing triads. But probably for you guys that are not really keyboard players, probably the best one for you is different chord types or chord groups. Chord groups is really cool. Let's say diatonic minor. So what's happening there is when I play a note, it's actually playing the correct voicing for that note using the notes from the diatonic minor scale. All right. Let's see if I went for neo soul chords. That's quite fun. Let's try this one. Oh, this is like 11th chords. Yeah, that's like 11th chords, which is quite interesting. Let's try this one. Just because I haven't tried any of these. So. Oh, nice. Yeah, that could be quite fun for making some fun sounding chords. But yeah, there you go. That's the quarter and the arpeggiator. They are loads and loads and loads and loads of fun. Can they be combined? Yes, they can. So I've got the quarter on there just now. If I close that, let's go and grab the arpeggiator as well. Stick that on there. I think they are combined. Or is it just replaced? I think it has actually just replaced. I think it replaced. I thought you could. I think you have to do it in a splitter, I think is what you have to do. Yeah, I think that's what you'd have to do to get both. I think you'd have to create a split. Oh, hang on. I've got quarter and they are both there. They're both there. Oh, this is so cool. Ha ha ha. Oh, wow. If I go back to the arpeggio, that's just doing straight up and down. Let's set that to random. That's just bonkers. Let's go back to the arpeggiator. And let's set this into swinging chords again. But what we'll do is we'll just reduce this again. We'll set that to 8th notes. So I'm using the quarter and the arpeggiator together there. So it does work. You don't need to do it in a split. I was wrong. I'm quite happy with being wrong as well. So I've got different things going on there. Let's see. Close that. Let's go for chord types again. Let's go back to major 7th. Because this was fun from before. Yeah, so lots of fun can be had there. I'm going to turn that off. So yeah, you guys can have an abundance of fun with that, let me tell you. So let's see, what do we have with our tune here? Let's go back to piano. Go back to that organ. Left manual. There we go. Way too much fun. And that's just playing single finger chord, and I just had it set in diatonic major group, which fits this kind of style of music perfectly. And so you can easily just create a whole set of chord changes that is going to work for your song. You just need to know that 1 is major, 2 is minor, 3 is minor, major, major, minor. And then what they're doing here is they're doing G with the third in the bass. So you can go. You can have lots of fun with that. All right, folks, I think we are out of time. We've reached the end of the show, but 2 really, really fantastic questions there. 2 or 3 really fantastic questions there that got us creating a piece of music pretty much out of nothing, just using the chorder and the arpeggiator and a drum loop that I tapped in, and then we just adjusted the tempo. So it worked really, really well. So let me know, guys, if you are up for the idea of me doing a show where I basically just create a piece of music from scratch, just using chorder, arpeggiator, and a drum loop, and just, you know, kind of to show you how this can kind of work for creating a song. If you are interested in watching me put something together totally off the top of my head, then yeah, drop me an email. Go to the web address down below my finger there, down there, jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk. And at the bottom of the website, there is a message form that you can just fill out there, and you can email me that way. And yeah, let me know your suggestions for shows on stuff like this that you would like to see, and I'd be very glad to make that happen. All right, folks, with that said, we have reached the end of our time. Thanks a lot for everybody's questions and for everybody coming. This has been loads of fun. I've really enjoyed it. Let's see, how many did we peak at today? Oh, we got up to the dizzy heights of 24 today, which is pretty cool. I would still like us to be able to hit more than 30 viewers every week. So if you know people for whom this show is going to be useful, or you think that, you know, they've just got started with Studio One, and you think that this would be valuable for them so they can come and ask their questions, then please do recommend this show to people. If you've got friends that are in that situation, tell them about this show, get them along. And it would be great if we could push up so that we are regularly over 30 viewers every week. That would be fantastic. So if you like the video, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell so you get notified of when those videos on Arpeggiator and chorder go out, and my overview videos for updates to Studio One that I do. Every time there is a new version of Studio One, I always put out an overview to help you guys get your way around all of the new features and all of that kind of stuff. So if you want to see those videos and be the first to see them, then hit the notification bell and select all notifications, and you'll get a notification, and all will be good, and you'll be able to be one of the first to view the videos. All right, folks, thanks a lot. Have a great night. Good night. It would help if I had everything set up for that, because that was a nearly slick ending, but not quite. Cheers, folks.